Hello viewers, Super GT here. We return for another daily race C at Sardegna. This is a race that came up a couple of months ago. I think it's about 4 months ago this race came up. 15 laps around Sardegna B circuit in Group 3. Let's see what we can do. I'm going to go for the Lexus in my first race, as this race is very much one of managing your fuel, tyres to an extent, but mainly your fuel. Let's see how it goes then, away from the line. Now you'll notice just in front of us here, we have one of our minions, R4M Darkness GT. We can deploy him to send people to the very dark shadow realm throughout the course of the race. So he's like a power up for me. He's not quite a rear gunner, more a front gunner, and he can wipe anyone out at the click of a finger. So we have him at our disposal. But let's see what we can do ourselves. 15 laps around here, and obviously you have 100% fuel at the beginning. You're looking at about 7% per lap, or just less than that. Well, let's say 6.66% per lap, and then you'll get to the end in terms of your fuel. So that's the main thing you're trying to manage around the lap here. Now, before we really get into this, I just want to say a massive thank you just for all the support on this channel. While you're watching this, if you're watching this when the video's just gone out, I'm in Monaco for the Gran Turismo World Tour final, and that kind of thing is not possible without the support, people watching the videos, people enjoying the videos. So just again, a massive thank you for anyone who's supported the channel, who's watched any of the videos, who's subscribed, and anything like that, because being able to go to Monaco because of this channel is amazing. So 91% fuel after the first lap, which is a bit behind schedule. We said 6.66% per lap, number of the devil. So I'm a little bit behind. The way I'm measuring it normally is by groups of 3 laps. So at the end of lap 3 I should be on 80%. At the end of lap 6 I should be on 60%. At the end of lap 9, 40%. End of lap 12 should be on 20, and then at the end of lap 15, 0%. So just keeping track of it, but also keeping track of it every lap, my amount of fuel. But then of course you have to race. The main thing here is really just to try to keep in the slipstream of the cars ahead. Now I'm not sure what the strategy is for most people. Now last time we did this race it was definitely a no stop, but people in the Audi R8, so it looks like the top 3 are all in the Audi R8, and they're gonna have trouble, I think, keeping that car to a no-stop strategy. So they can be aggressive, they can really rev out the car and go for one pit stop towards the middle or the end of the race. But for me, we're going to go for the no-stop, see if we can manage it. We've done it before, so it should be possible again. So the top 3 are beginning to stretch away in the Audi R8 as they get the hammer down, but it's us here up in 4th, 5th and 6th place, and 7th in fact, just behind, who are a little bit closer. Coming down towards the first corner, you can see they're going into lean mode 6, just anything to save fuel. So you might think it's best, to race and just try to gain every position you can. But sometimes in overtaking, you have to use up a lot of fuel in order to do that. So sometimes it's best just to sit behind, wait and wait and wait, be patient, let the race come to you, and then strike when the time is correct. A bit of contact there from the Italian behind. It's going to put us off, going to flick back to the radar. This is the difficult thing, I think, when you're trying to fuel save, but you've got people around you. So you want to see your fuel, but you want to see the radar as well. So sometimes awkwardly flicking between the two to try to get the best of both worlds. But I think it's best often just to leave on the radar just to make sure you know where people are. Into this right-hander up the hill. Now we've done 200 laps of Sardegna. It was one of the endurance races we did this year. 200 laps. It took about 4 hours something, 4.5 hours I think. So plenty of experience. Still not at the front of the pack though. My qualifying time was a high 90, 119.7, which is not too bad. Less than a second away from the number 1 in the world, or number 1 in the region at the time of doing it. Got a penalty for R4M Darkness GT. Very easy to do for that final corner. As you're trying to push the limits of the grass, you can go 2 wheels on the curb, 2 on the grass, but you go a little bit beyond that and then you get yourself a 0.5 second penalty, as Darkness has done there. So a very big shout out and thank you for the support on the R4M thing. It was only really meant to be a bit of a joke, but I think there's about 50, possibly more, people who have actually changed their PSN ID to R4M. It's pretty hilarious, actually. Now, I tried to accept all the friend requests. On my F4H account, I can't accept anymore, but on this one, I can, on the Shadow GT account. But there are a lot of R4M members, let me tell you. There have been a lot of people adding the R4M tag to their name and going out there into the world and ramming for money, as they should. So Darkness serving his penalty, drops back behind Howe Stark, but as long as we're still in the tow here, that should be okay. Now, incidentally, it was Jomas who won that 200 laps of Sardegna in the Corvette, so I think it's a good car, especially on fuel. I think it's not a car I've driven in a long time though, so maybe I'm completely wrong and I'm talking a load of rubbish. Okay, so coming across the line, end of lap number 4, with still a nice little battle developing here. Got the Audi right behind, and he's not quite going to be able to be close enough to go for the move here into turn 1. Not that he probably wanted to go for it, doesn't seem as though he did. Corvette up the inside, Howe Stark. That is a true R4M move right there. Is he going to be able to complete into this left-hander here? Howe Stark fighting that one around the outside, and he's actually succeeded there. We've got a big bit of contact from behind this time. We're going to have to sign this guy up to R4M, funnily enough, and then it'll be 3 R4M members in a row on this race. Top 3 begin to pull away now. First, second and third, all in the Audi R8. You see the gap has stretched out to now 4th place, well over 1.5 seconds, well outside of slipstream range. Darkness up the inside. There's a bit of contact. There's a bit of contact with me and the rude Italian, just really forces his way through, and I've been demoted here to 10th. So a very late move. Didn't quite see that one coming, but a bit of a shoulder barge on the way out, and I've dropped down into 10th position. So I'm going to have to do a lot of work here to try to fight my way back up this order. The key thing, I think, at this point, really, is just to stay in the slipstream range. It sometimes is worth burning a bit more fuel just to make sure you stay in the slipstream. We are in the slipstream, just over a second, but ideally I would like to be within half a second, maybe a bit more, but we'll see if we can reel these guys back in. There's a big group of 6, and I'd like to try and make it 7. Someone else to watch out for. We got Alexoni GT, who's now in 12th place. He's driving the Ferrari. We've also got Key 25, who is driving the Porsche. They're coming through from the back. They're doing the last to first challenge, and they're definitely guys to watch. Alex in the Ferrari, which is a very good car for fuel, so he can he doesn't really have to fuel save as much as everyone else, but the problem with that car is the tyres. It can be very difficult on the rear tyres, especially at the end of the race. So that's going to be his main issue throughout the course of this race. So coming up through this corner, a lap ago we were off the circuit. Howe stuck off the circuit this time, so we're going to go past him. And then that was a 10-second penalty for the Italian. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 5 for the contact with me and then 5 for the one with Howe Stark. I'm not quite sure exactly what happened, but well, he's been sent to the penalty realm, and he's long gone now. Don't have to worry about him anymore. So we're getting 2 positions on that lap. Is anyone going to pit? Not yet. We are nearly halfway into the race, and as we start lap 7, so at the end of lap 6, I had about 57% fuel. So again, still a couple of percent of fuel behind schedule at this point in time. The car does get lighter as the race goes on though, so it technically uses less fuel later, but it's not always a huge difference. So you can't really count on that too much. Coming into this left-hander of turn 1, 2... Wait, what turn is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn 4. That was turn 5, this is turn 6. It's actually a really good circuit, this Sardegna B, and it is testament to Gran Turismo really, because they do seem to come out with these absolute bangers in terms of the fictional circuits. They all seem to be very decent, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. I would like to know your favourite one though, because they have brought out a lot of good ones. I do like Sainty Croix. I know I say it wrong, although to be fair they should change it to that. Sainty Croix is how they should say it from now on. I've always liked that circuit. Definitely one of my favourites in terms of the originals. But there are a lot of good originals on this game, especially like Dragon Trail Seaside, Dragon Trail Gardens, a lot of very good circuits. Right, okay, Darkness goes into the pit lane. He's got 38% fuel. I've got 51, so maybe completely forget what I said about the fuel saving, unless he was just going full on to the end of every rev range in every gear. He was using a lot of fuel there in the Corvette. So again, another position there. Alex now behind in the Ferrari, just slowly making his way forward. This is something you would have seen if you watched the previous video called Master of Tactics, I think I called it. It was on this race. It was 15 laps around this very circuit in Group 3. It was exactly the same race, pretty much. I don't think they changed the fuel or the tyre multipliers, so I think it's exactly the same race. We had a similar story in that one, because we had a driver coming through from the back who was driving really quickly, and that is exactly the same thing that's happening here with Alex, who started at the back. Got Key to come through as well. Might be able to spot him every time I look behind. So Alex on my tail here. I'm not really going to fight him too much. Sometimes it's best just to kind of, if they're going to go for the move, let them go through, and then you can just follow them, because I've got a bit of a gap now to the guys ahead, more than a second. So if Alex can get ahead, I can kind of sit in his toe and he can pull me back towards this big group up ahead of 3 cars. Through the second to last corner into the final one now. Well, I suppose this is technically 2 corners here, but this little right-hander here is kind of just the exit of the left. So you've got Rampazamba going to the pit lane, got Basic Ollie going to the pit lane, so 2 drivers going in. Most of us here staying out, so we're going to gain 2 positions there, up into 5th. So we're going 1 better than where we started at the moment, but we are going to go back into 6th place, our natural habitat, as the Ferrari goes up the inside. I kind of saw that coming, didn't really fight it at all. Could do a bit of fuel saving while he overtook me actually, just lift off the throttle a little bit earlier. And now Howe stuck back on our tail. So the battle between us has resumed. He's up my inside. I've just looked at the radar there and just given the space, but he's not quite alongside enough to go for the move fully. So we keep 6th place for now. So yeah, Housesuck and I were fighting a little bit further forward, but then after we both got shoved wide on the same corner, we both kind of got demoted a little bit. So suboptimal race for the pair of us, but we were still in a decent enough position at this point. We can still gain positions, notably on the Russian crew up ahead. 2nd, 3rd and 4th, all Russian drivers. Is there any positions to be gained on that group? As Alex, you see just how refined his driving is, just putting away a little bit on each corner, not much, but it's just enough. This is what separates a mediocre driver like me and a very good one like him. Just pulls away that tiny amount every lap. Okay, so the 2 Russians, in fact all of them go into the pit lane. All of the top 4 go in. So now Alex is in the lead. Is anyone going to come out of the pit lane? Right there, yes they are. The Finnish driver, luckily, I ghosted through him because I didn't know where to go there. Thank God for ghosting. As we go through up into 2nd. This is very interesting because I'm on the different strategy compared to obviously those who pitted. They're going to be coming through on fresher tyres and with slightly more fuel to burn, whereas I have to be still conservative every lap. We're just losing the faint scent of slipstream as Alex just gets beyond 1.3 seconds, so we're right on the edge of that. Now got Key behind us, and again Key's someone I'd normally not fight too much, especially at this point of the race. It's still quite early, if anything. We've still got a third of the race left to go, still about 7 minutes or so. Goes up the inside, I see it coming on the radar, give him the space, and then I can tuck into his slipstream for a lap. It's just one of those races really where you don't want to lose too much time yourself. You can fight, I mean I could block from right now until the very end, but keeping behind people who have got fresh tyres and more fuel, it's not going to be very easy at all, and you're probably just going to invite more and more pressure, and you're going to invite more people into the fight. So sometimes you have to kind of race quickly and get away rather than fight to the death too early. There is a right time to time it. So down to 3rd at this point. Alex long gone in the distance now, and we've got a couple of drivers coming through. So we've got the Finnish driver just behind us now, who went in for the pit stop a lap ago. He's on the fresh tyres, he's got more fuel. It's going to be hard to keep him at bay. So if he does come up the inside, we're not going to fight it too much. Again, there is a time to fight. He does come up the inside looking at the radar, and that seemed to be a prime opportunity to go for a move. He's got a rich energy livery, which obviously gives him plus 10% power and plus 100% awesomeness. So he's going to fly off into the distance. Again, though, we can tuck into his slipstream for a bit. Halbstark's still behind for company, 0.7 seconds behind. We just have a brief glimpse of him there. He's driving the NSX. He's definitely a fan of the NSX. Seems to be always going for the Honda or the Acura option, if available. Up the hill then for the 11th time. 4 laps to go after this one. This corner here very difficult, and I seem to be missing that first apex. It seems to lull you into turning quite late, but you can actually commit quite early to that corner and get on the power quite early because it does open up on the exit. A little bit too wide here. Tyres are going to be very dirty as we come into the final corner. Make sure we don't overshoot, and we don't, thankfully. But time lost for sure. And it's a very, very scruffy final lap there. Or the 11th lap was very scruffy at the end. And that is going to let Halbstark back in. So we're into 5th. And ideally here, I want to finish higher than where I started. I started in 6th. I don't want to finish 6th again, because that is sickening. Absolutely sickening. Horrible pun intended, but there you go. Okay, so we're going to... It's a theme of the race, tucking into someone's slipstream as they go past me, but this is just kind of a normal... this is a normal thing when you're running this kind of strategy. People are going to go past you who are on the quicker strategy. Sometimes you just have to accept that some people are faster. And I know full well that I am not the quickest player on this game. And sometimes it's best just to let them through and try to learn from them and follow them. Often that's the best way to get quicker. Got Rambazamba coming through now, so another Audi R8 who went aggressive for the first half of the race, went in for the pit stop, and then is now coming back through. But we are approaching the end of the race. 3 laps to go after this one. And I think we're turning to that point now where I could start defending the last couple of laps and protecting my position. I think we're at that point now where actually, yeah, we can screw fuel saving. We can just forget about that for a bit and just actually defend our position. So onto the main straight, again tucking into the slipstream. We've got Key actually going into the pit lane. He had 1% fuel in the Porsche, so he must have been going quite aggressive. Audi on our inside here. Is he going to go for that move? I'm still in the slipstream of the Honda, or the Acura, sorry. I'm going to take the outside line. The Audi does go up the inside. We're going to kind of allow that to happen. So we gained a position, we've lost a position, we've stayed in 5th, ultimately. So not too much fighting there. I think the main battle here is between myself and Halbstark for 4th, as now he is in 4th. He gets quite, well, I was just going to say rudely, but that was a good overtake, but kind of forced him a little bit wide. He lost quite a bunch of time there. That's going to put me right on his rear bumper again. So also a couple of tenths of a second. Rambazamba's just going to drive off into the distance now, presumably. He has more fuel to play with, so he can rev out his car in every gear, whereas I don't have that luxury. I do need to fuel save still. So the decision now is, when do I go for this move on Halbstark? Because by sitting behind I can save more fuel. I'm on 13%, coming up to 2 laps to go. By the time I cross the line, it's probably going to be on about 11, so I'm not going to have much fuel at all. So getting tougher and tougher as this race goes on to manage the fuel. We do have to be a lot more conservative. We've normally been about 2% behind schedule up to this point. 12% at this point here. Coming across the line, 11%. So we've got 6% per lap. Remembering, of course, that 0% is a percent, so you can use that one as well. So 6% per lap here, which is a little bit less than the 6.66 average that you need. So I don't have much to play with. I do need to save a little bit more. We went for the move. I went for the move there. I did rev out every gear, but didn't quite get enough of an overlap going in. Halbstark fighting it around the outside, and he did well. And this fight is going to go right down to the end. Coming up the inside here, no, not quite. We're going to stay behind. Not the best overtaking opportunity there, unless you're already alongside going in. The best overtaking opportunities on this lap, definitely down here into the right-hander at the end of this little straight here, and then turn 1 as well. We're not going to go for it here. Into lean setting 4. Maximum fuel saving almost. Really trying to save a lot of fuel. As we come up the hill for the penultimate time, Halbstark just pulling away a little bit there. I'm not sure how much fuel he's got. That's the thing. I'm trying to second guess what everyone else is doing as well. So he might be saving. He might have loads. I've only got 6% left at this point. Or actually 7. As we come through the final corner of the penultimate lap. He's run out of fuel, I think. There he goes. He's actually dropped off completely. And he's going to have to crawl into the pit lane. So I move up into 4th with 1 lap left to go. Is it possible to hold this? We've got Kavabanga RU52 in 5th, hunting me down in the Audi R8. So he went in for the pit stop earlier, and he's on fresh tyres, presumably, and with a lot more fuel. So it's going to be quite tricky to hold him at bay, given that I have to save a lot of fuel. Got key as well for good measure. And this is getting rather ominous. The darkness is coming. The shroud of speed is right behind me, and it's approaching very quickly, far too quickly, in fact. So I'm going to have to go very defensive on the final half of this final lap. Coming down the hill then, 3% of fuel remaining, and I'm going to have to go to the right hand side here and defend this position. I'm going to take the apex, but move to the right. He's going to go to the left. I'm going to force him to the outside. Make sure we don't overshoot the brakes. We've hit the apex nicely. Save a bit of fuel here, force these guys to the outside, go really slow. Having to save the fuel though, creep along the apex, make sure they don't get the cutback. I'm half looking at the track, half looking at the radar, just to see exactly where they are. It's Key now in 5th place, he's got through past the Russian, saving as much fuel as possible here into the final corner of the race. And now we can give it full beans onto the straight, 0.1 laps remaining of fuel. Coming down the straight, we're revving it out, and we've just run out. We're going to come up to the line. There's a massive incident there, as I think he was going for the slipstream behind me. I ran out, there was a bump, and then unfortunately the Russian ended up spinning out as a result, and he drops down the order massively, down to, where is he, 8th place. I finished in 5th. It was an exhilarating race. I couldn't quite tell which way that was going to go, but ultimately we finished 5th, went up a position, and I didn't finish 6th. There is a bonus for you. But that is all from me. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Again, a massive thank you for everyone for the support on this channel, on the Gran Turismo videos, on all of the videos this year. It's just been absolutely amazing to be able to go to this World Tour events because this channel is absolutely brilliant. So again, massive thank you. Thank you for the patrons, supporters, and the channel members as well, of course. But thank you for everyone for watching, and thank you for making it this far into the video. But that is all from me. Have a nice day, everyone. I shall see you next time. Goodbye.